everyone. Okay, we're doing another page in our Boho Beach art journal. Look how fat this thing is getting. We are filling it up. And I have been trying to figure out what to do next, and I came up with an idea because it's just one of the ways that I art journal when I'm just art journaling and doing my art. My style of painting, which is floral, ballerinas, and mandalas. But I want to do a whole page on here, and we'll keep with the beach theme. And it is mixed media, and what we're going to be using today, let me adjust my light as I find it is a little bit of a gloomy day here in Arizona, so I don't have as much of that natural light that I normally do for my videos. So I hope you guys can see this. We're going to be doing mixed media. We're going to be using book pages. Ooh, I don't want to use this one because I was doing something else with it. And we're going to be using some Indian inks, and this is a collection that I have, which I just adore. Dr. P.H. Martin's Indian inks. It comes with a variety of colors. So I'm going to pull my Indian inks out. I'm also going to use some black acrylic ink, and we are going to use some paint as well. And I'm going to... I guess I wasn't really too prepared, but I've got my art alchemies in blues, keeping with, you know, the Boho Beach. We're going to be creating, might sound a little, oh, you know what? I'm going to also use a little bit of this Color Shift Blue Flash paint. And you can use any collection of paints if you want, and if you don't have Indian ink, you certainly can do this technique with acrylic paint, just watering it down. So thought I was a little more prepared for this. I apologize, just bear with me 1 minute while I get a couple of containers and my fluid. Okay. And what we're going to do is I'm going to use a full blank page today. We are going to paint the background using our acrylic washes, and then we're going to put some components that we're using. So we're going to start off, and you know, you guys can do this technique with anything. I'll give you a little sample of what I do. You know, I've created butterflies here. You can really use butterflies. I've done some flowers. We're going to do some underwater ocean, like fish and stuff for our underwater scene today, okay? So we'll do a little bit of some coral, and we'll do a fish. So I like to use book pages because when we put the ink, the color on it, you still see the words underneath, and there's some nice textures. Also, oh my gosh, I've completely forgot. We're going to use some stamping as well. So I've got an archival ink pad and a couple of my favorite Seven Gypsies stamps. Can't leave home without those. These are just my favorite tools. Okay, so what we're going to do, the easiest thing is if you fold your book page in half, and we are going to cut out a fish. And what I'll do is I will put a little template on my website for you guys, but we're going to do just really simple shapes. It's nothing fancy, and the reason why I cut it in half, as you can see, is you just cut half a fish out and you end up with a hole. But it is going to be kind of abstract, so you know, I don't want you to really worry about, you know, making it perfect, or oh, my fish is just, you know, not really looking like a fish. Just give it a tail. And you know, if you know the goldfish snack, just kind of like a goldfish shape. And you know, I've got one that's a little bit wider here, one that's a little thin, and we'll have some fun with it because we're going to actually turn it into something that's going to look like a fish in the end. And then let's just do a couple pieces of coral. And I don't know if I'm actually going to use the coral, but it's just good to have something there if we want a little component. I like to prepare my embellishments ahead of time, and then as I'm creating the composition, I'll decide what I'm going to use. So just cutting out organic shapes. Looks a little bit like, you know, a cactus, but that's okay. It's coral. All coral is different. Some are short and wide. So you're just gonna go ahead and just be free. Get some shapes going. Tall ones, short ones, whatever you want. There's no right or wrong. I will, you'll have available some little templates that I'll draw out for you for those that just want to trace, so you don't have to go and cut your own. You'll have that available. And it's better to have more than less, so that when you're creating your composition, you know, you might need a space to fill up, and you don't want to not have, you know, some of these little pieces available. So just cut out as much as you can, and if you don't use it, you can use, you know, another piece for another project. In this case, less is not more. You want more. Okay, so I'm going to do another kind of shorter one. And in a minute here, you will see why I chose book pages over, you know, just regular paper. You certainly can use regular copy paper if you, you know, don't have an old book handy. So I've got two fish. I'm just going to kind of, you know, check my composition here and make sure that I have enough. I might just do coral on one side. Okay, I think I've got plenty. All right, so then the next thing we're going to do is color our cutouts that we just did, and we're going to use Indian ink for that. And that's this nice color wheel that I have here. And now my backgrounds are going to be blues and stuff, so I'll try to stick, you know, with the brighter colors. Yellows and oranges. I just like to have them all out because when I start going, oh, I'll leave these. I'm just going to grab ink. And then I like to use the white acrylic ink with it as well. And the reason being, if you don't have white acrylic ink, just get some white acrylic paint and add a little bit of water and use that as a base, because once we put Indian ink down, it absorbs into the paper so fast that you won't be able to smush it and get the nice textural technique that I'm going to use. So you need like a really watery base to put first, and you'll see in a minute how I do this. So let's start off with a fish. The fish are going to be easiest because I'm just going to fold them. So let's see. I think I'll use my red violet, and I'll use a little bit of yellow. I'm just going to get all these open. Just make sure you have all your jars open because you are going to have to work fairly quickly here. So I've got all my inks. And I will get my blue out because I'll probably do some mix coral. Okay. So I've got them all out. So you're going to start off with the white acrylic ink. And you only have to do one side. Let's do the bigger one so you can see. And you're just going to get some of that white acrylic ink on your fish, like so. Just a little squiggle. And then take various colors and just do a couple drops. Like so. Make sure it's on the white because you want it to blend with the white. And you're just going to fold it over. And this can get messy, so make sure you have paper towel down. Okay, and then just open it up so it's all mixed in. And it's okay if you didn't get paint in this area. I like how that kind of raw book page is showing. It makes for an interesting fish or whatever that you're doing. And just set it aside to dry. I think I'll get another piece of paper just to set it on. So I will set it over here, away from my workspace. Now, if you don't put the white acrylic down first, you will just see your little line with the Indian ink. Like I said, it doesn't mix in, so it just gets absorbed by the paper. So make sure you put your white acrylic ink down first, or your acrylic wash. Okay, so I think I will use some orange on this guy and yellow. It'll be like a goldfish. Okay, and then again, it's all runny and it is messy, but it's okay. And fold it. And then gently open it. And you've got your second fish. So again, I'm just going to stick them over there to dry. Now we'll work on the coral. So the coral is going to be a little bit different because we haven't done a double side to fold. So we're going to use the same technique, but I'll show you how I do this. So take one coral, get some white. Now you want to get white on all the pieces, not just half of it. Okay, and then I'll get a little bit of ink. I think I'll do a little bit of an ombre thing, so I'll just get this teal color at the bottom, and then I'll do like, put a little bit there, and maybe a little bit of a red on the tip. Okay, and then what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take another one and start kind of blotting to get that color transferred. So I've got, kind of get two done at once, and then if there's a lot left over, you can go and blot some more off. So we've got 2 done. I've got one here. I'm going to put over here to dry, and another one. And I just want a little bit more on this one. So get some white. I'm going to use this one. Right. Use blue this time. The bottom. There. And a little red. Get a little orange on this tip. And again, we're going to take the other one and just start blotting. I told you it was messy, but it ends up being really pretty in the end. So I've got one here and another one here. So we're going to set it aside to dry. Oh, we got a little bit through. We're going to close up our inks. We're done with the inks. And if you don't have a big set like this with all the colors, you know, even if you've just got a couple colors, it's fine. If you don't have acrylic, or sorry, the Indian ink, you can also do this technique with paint. Just acrylic paint, water it down a bit. Make sure it's mixed very well, and you can do that same technique with the acrylic paint. Okay, so going to close all those up. We're going to get our ink out of the way, and we're going to start working on the background while these dry. So we need our journal. I'm just going to scoot that aside. And I'm going to get some clean paper towel just to put between my pages, so I don't messy up all my fringe and tassel. And my journal is getting so thick that it's getting hard to work in. So I'm just going to grab, I like these bamboo brushes when I'm doing washi stuff. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're just going to water down a little bit of paint. I'm going to try this color shift. This one's called Blue Flash. So I'm just going to put some paint in a container and then add some water to it to liquefy it. And then we'll mix it up. So it's really washy. And there's so many different, as I mix it up, I can see purples, teals. I don't even know if I'm going to need all the other colors, but we'll see. And we'll just do a wash. Isn't that pretty? Probably won't even need to use the other paints, but I may just use a little bit because that's me. I like to use a number of different colors and paints, but oh, it's so pretty. There's some glimmer in it, shine. The texture is very similar to the Art Alchemy paints that I use. Okay, so I've got that down. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my palette knife. And I've got some other blues here too. I've got, this one is light patina and Magic Pond. So I just want to add, instead of having just a solid background, this is how I add depth. And I'll just go in and take some of this paint. This is the light patina, and just kind of go over it to get some more texture. And I'm going to keep it lighter at the top. So, you know, when we're thinking about the ocean, the light from the sun, the surface of the water is a lot lighter than down below, and then we'll use the darker one down below. So lighter on top. Go down just a bit. And then I'll get the darker blue and do just at the bottom here. And we're going to go and we're going to stamp over this too, so we're going to have a lot of yummy texture. So we are creating like a collaged underwater adventure. And it'll be a little artsy and whimsical. Okay, so I think that's enough. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to cover everything. So those are the colors that I used. The Color Shift, Blue Flash, Patina, and you can find acrylic paints in these colors too, Patina, and this is kind of like a steel blue. Okay, so I'll get those put away. Done with the paint. Oops, just have to let that dry. I'll get my blow dryer out for a second. So, pardon the noise. These will dry too over here while I'm at it. Flying away on me. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm just going to pull these out for a minute, so you can focus more on the art, and we're going to get our stamps out. The nice thing about acrylic, it dries super fast, quicker than the inks. And I'm going to get a little texture on my page. So we've colored the background. I've got a couple of my favorite like font stamps here. And I'm just going to ink it. Now when you're stamping, you got to be careful not to, let me get my pages in. We don't want to stamp the whole stamp on there, because then it'll look like it's just been stamped. So what we're going to do is, let me get this covered again. Should have just left this in. And this is the reason why I use these flexible ones. I don't put them in blocks, is I can really control what I'm stamping. So I don't want to go and stamp the whole thing on. I'm going to kind of lift the edges and do just areas so that it looks like it's a little distressed. So you only get portions of it. Just like that. And go light, you know. It doesn't have to be the whole stamp or really dark. Like that's what you want, is just the variety. And then if you've done what I've done there, where you can kind of see the edges, is just do a little bit more on top. Okay, So we're starting to build the texture. I'm going to put that one away. And then I have one here that I really like that looks like newspaper type. So I'm going to do that before sorry, I was going to try something else, but I'll wait. So ink it up. And again, the same thing. You don't want to get the whole thing on there. You just want to make it look like it's like torn pages. So just lift the sides up and gently push down. Remember, you don't want to make it look like you've just stamped an image on. And you can do this with any kind of stamp. I've done pages where I'm using my custom made stamps. And if you've followed some of my other videos, you've seen me do the feather stamp. And I think I might have posted one with a paisley as well. And I've done mandalas and a couple other ones too, shell ones. If you go over on my YouTube channel, you'll see more. So I'm getting all my font in, and then I've got another one here, a different typeset, and get a couple of these in. Just makes for such an interesting background. Let's do one more. And you can always add more after too. I'm going to just stick with that now. So if you can see, I've got all my little wording in there. So my textures are in, and now we're going to get our fish and we're going to be able to place them. This one's still got a lot of ink, and we're going to glue them. So I'm just going to put those where I want them. Got my coral. And I think I'm just going to use a portion of coral here. I've got a smaller one, let's see. No, I like the blue one. Okay, so I am just going to cut this guy. Okay, and then at this point, what you're going to do is you're just going to start gluing these pieces on. So get a glue stick. And just glue it right on top. Make sure you've got enough glue to hold down all the edges, because we are going to add some acrylic ink on top of this as well. And you don't want it to seep down underneath it. Okay, so I've got my coral. I'm going to get this little guy down, and then I'll get my fish in. Whoa. Coming to the end of my glue. And be careful with these, because if the acrylic, even though the ink isn't getting on your fingers, it might still be a little bit wet. So just be careful, because it can tear. I've done that many times. which is okay. If it tears, you can just glue it back down, you know, in pieces. Okay, let's get this nice big fat fish there. Definitely got too much glue on this guy here. Okay, let's write that down. This guy does not have enough glue there. Get it down good. Okay, one more fish. Okay. Okay, so once those are all glued down, we're ready for our final stage of applying the ink. And this is going to finish off our image. So get your black acrylic ink. And this is how I make my art. And you're just gonna, you know, roughly do some lines to indicate the fish. You can add a little fin if you want up here. That's why I said just, you know, do a little doesn't have to look like a fish. And then same thing over here. Just kind of suggestive. Doesn't matter if you're going over the line. And then the same thing for the coral. I think I'm running out of ink. And just be free, have fun, you know. It's art, it's kind of abstract-y here, so. Let's put some of my signature squiggles, and of course, I always like to do some little ink splatters on my pages. This is kind of where like the illustrative side of me comes into play. And that's it. You'll just let it dry. I'll turn it this way so that you can see. And I'm just going to leave the paper in here because the ink is still wet. But there's your little illustrative underwater scene. And that's it. Just another way of incorporating, you know, a different technique into your art journal. And you can do this with anything. Any kind of animal or, you know, flower, trees, landscapes, whatever you want to do. So I'd love to see what you guys created. Go ahead and post your images if you've tried this technique in my Facebook group, Collaborating Through Art. If you're not a member, just request to join and I will activate you so you can start posting your images. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks for watching, guys.